Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another Lifestyle of Eden podcast. Today, I have for my fourth pillar and fourth video teaching on this, we are having the same guest, great friend, great mentee. We got Larry Wilson. Larry, thanks for joining me, bro.
It is a pleasure once again, man. Excited to dive into this one. It's an interesting one. Definitely needs to be heard.
No, absolutely, man. It's one that's interesting. It's on hydration. The fourth one is hydration, right? The first one we have nutrition. The second one we have stress management, environmental toxicity, and community. The third one we have body movement,
Yep.
and now this fourth one is hydration. And hydration was something that came to me through the scriptures as everything else did. But what was interesting was whenever I was a kid, I was always on the AU, all-star baseball, football, whatever. My dad coached most of my sports. And he used to always talk about, hey, you got to stay hydrated. You need these electrolytes. You got to stay hydrated. He goes, Nick, you have to stay ahead of the game because once you get dehydrated, it's done. There's no recovering from dehydration that day. Maybe over the next couple of days, but that day you're done. Like you're not going to get ready for the next baseball game by just putting a Gatorade back. Like you're screwed. And it was absolutely right. It was like it's the point of no return at that point.
Yep.
But hydration goes so much deeper on so many levels. And in that specifically, I always tell people hydration does not come from water. Hydration comes from electrolytes.
Yep. We've all heard drink more water, but most of those people that are still drinking more water are still cellularly dehydrated. We need those electrolytes to actually pull that water into the cells, sodium, potassium, magnesium. I tell everybody every day, most people come to me, even just with headaches. I've removed some headaches and symptom wise for people, even just in a few days. Hey, add salt water to your regimen. Start your morning with salt water and sunlight, and boom, the headaches go away. Most of the time, headaches are just actually dehydration.
No, that's actually a proven statistic that the number one reason for migraines is actually from lack of hydration. They say that they're drinking plenty of water, that the blood has plenty of water, but their tissues are not being saturated because
Mhm.
they don't have electrolytes. And what really got me about this, what was interesting, the way all my seven pillars came about was I was always like, what would Adam and Eve have done with this? Like, how would they have dealt with this kind of stuff? You know what I mean? And if they're getting water, they're getting it from the rocks. Like they'll go into these ponds where like it's washing over rocks and all these different things. All of the water that generally speaking they would have had was naturally filled with some type of salt and electrolytes and things of that nature. And so even in the blue zones, what they'll actually do, like in Greece specifically, they will literally go to where their like hills and mountains are by their water, by the coast, and they will actually shovel salt from those rocks, and that's the salt that they use back at their home.
So nice.
And I was just like, the salt is such an easy one. You don't have to go. Obviously, you have magnesium, like magnesium supplements and things like that. Those are electrolytes. But the multiple easy ways to do it, what I always tell people is in my opinion, my favorite way to get electrolytes is just unrefined mineral salt. I just
Yep.
put it like on all of my meat. I put it on my meals. Like I don't really put it in my water much, although I do tell clients to do that. But I only do that because I just don't want to make sure that they don't forget to have it in there. Uh,
Exactly.
but
And just build
generally,
those habits.
yeah, generally I just put it on my food. What do you do for electrolytes?
Yeah, same thing. I salt all my meals, and I particularly salt my pre-workout meals. Like a lot of people love these pump enhancers and this, that, and the other, especially gym goers. But hey, all we need is proper hydration. If you have some potassium in your meal, like for me, like a banana with a little bit of honey and some salt, that's a better pump enhancer than anything else.
Dude, that's funny you said that. About a year ago, I don't do this anymore, but about a year ago, somebody asked me, oh no, it was a mom, say, hey, my son wants pre-workout. What pre-workout should I get him? And I said a double espresso shot and a fourth teaspoon of unrefined mineral salt. Whenever
It's
I would do that,
cheaper, it's more effective, and it's easy
dude,
to follow.
I would get the
Nothing on the
energy.
artificial crap.
I was about to say I'd get the energy from the caffeine without all the artificial garbage. It's going to kill my kidneys. And then the salt, like you said, it's such a blood expander. My pumps would be just skin splitting whenever I do that.
Yep. And then if you want to throw in more enhancements, anything that are blood flow dilators like L-citrulline can be great there, but that's once again above and beyond some of the basics. But just start with the basics.
Yeah, these are huge things just for all cellular function to be able to burn body fat properly, have energy. A lot of people, they actually teach that low energy is not a caffeine problem, it's a hydration problem. So they always say go chug 20 ounces of water, wait an hour, and then if you still need something, then go to another
Yeah,
approach.
yeah. With hunger too, man. You might just be
Dude,
thirsty.
that's so
You
true.
might just be thirsty.
That is so unbelievably true. I actually deal with that with clients all the time where they go, "Hey, Nick, I'm still hungry." And I have dude, this is whenever I'm feeding a girl like 2,200 calories. And I'm like, okay, you have a problem then. Like, so I'll go, like, how much water are you having? Oh, 50 ounces. And I'm like, I have a gallon in your protocol. Like, you need to have a gallon. Like, you need to do that first before I touch your diet. And then let me know in 48 hours if you're still hungry. And sure enough, they're not still hungry anymore. Water is like one of the easiest ways to properly stay full, and not in the sense that you're just filling your stomach. It's just what it's doing to your cells. Like, it's a cellular situation that you are just having satiety in all different types of ways. I think it's absolutely critical.
Kidneys, blood pressure, it helps above and beyond. Once again, we can correlate all these principles into functional methods as well.
No, it's big for kidneys. In fact, actually, on blood work, whenever we look at the electrolyte section, if you look at sodium and that sodium is low, this is generally just a malnutrition issue. It's pretty simple to fix. But if you see that sodium is actually high, it's generally dehydration because they have less, the salt water balance is off. And so they have less water, causing the sodium to read higher. And sodium and any of those markers right there, there's a reason why they're under EGFR and creatinine and BUN is because they're all kidney markers.
Yep.
So if those things get off, like even potassium's low, okay, that's just a malnutrition thing. If it's high, we're looking potentially at a kidney issue. So sodium, electrolytes, all those different things. In fact, one of the kidney markers on blood work, BUN, blood urea nitrogen, the top two reasons for that being off, one of them is hydration. Now, granted, the second one is too high a protein because protein breaks down into amino acids into ammonia, ammonia into urea, and that's what that is, blood urea nitrogen. So it could be a protein issue. But most of the time, actually, not most of the time, I take that back. Part of the time, it's just simple dehydration. In fact, most nurse practitioners, they actually don't go as deep as I just talked about when it comes to protein and how the amino acids break down into ammonia and so forth. They literally always just say, hey, generally, this is just dehydration. Dehydration, it's a critical component to all these different things, your detox pathways and all of these different things, but you have to have the hydration with the electrolytes. Otherwise, you know what's interesting, which you've probably seen or experienced, is if you have too much water and not enough electrolytes, that water actually strips out the electrolytes and nutrients from your body and
Hydrate even more. Yeah.
So I've seen that quite a bit. I've experienced it quite a bit. It's why actually what we used to do in bodybuilding, I didn't do it toward my latter years, but when I first started getting into it, not really knowing a whole lot, my last week of my show, in order to dehydrate, we would go 3 gallons, 2 gallons, 1 gallon, and then I can't remember what we did after that. This is like when I was 19. But the only water I was able to drink was distilled water because it was totally stripped. And so as I was chugging more water, I was actually dehydrating myself and trying myself out. And I think that's what a lot of people do. And they wonder why they're still thirsty and having these different issues. It's because you're dehydrated. You don't have the electrolytes.
100%. 100%. That's a cool correlation to their bodybuilding. And on that aspect with the distilled water, what do you think about quality of water? So obviously if it's distilled, we have to add back in those minerals, we have to add back in those electrolytes. But what type of water should people be trying to acquire? Because I think that's worth mentioning while speaking about hydration.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm probably one of the worst people when it comes to the reality of water, like of what you should be doing. Because here's what I do: I'll go to Sprouts and I'll get like their alkaline water or whatever that's got certain minerals in it. But after I finish that bottle, like I don't refill it that way. I honestly go down on our ninth floor where our amenity floor is. We have these massive water things that you can just refill. And I honestly go down there every morning and just refill it. And it's probably just like your regular filtered water crap, whatever. At least it's filtered.
But
But
some people are drinking sink water on the daily or just nothing but plain
oh,
bottles.
dude.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, dude. No sink water, bro. No sink water. Absolutely not. It's probably loaded with metals and toxic.
Estrogens.
Oh, dude, yeah. I would definitely not. I stopped doing that in 2022. I used to do that and then realizing the parasites and people's gut issues and all these different things that was coming from this faucet water, I was just like, I'm not cool with it. It's got way too many toxins and all that other, like you said, metals, estrogens, all those things. But now I'm pretty basic. I know people get crazy like reverse osmosis and
Yeah.
and I'm not saying it's bad. I just am like, hey, you know what? I think that if you can just get a decent clean water and then put some salt in it and live the other pillars first before you try to go overboard on all these other concepts, then I think that's probably the better route to go and cheaper for that matter.
Agreed.
One of the easiest ways too that I like to leave people with when it comes to hydration is all of these components we're talking about, not only of water, but of the electrolytes, is literally found in fresh fruit. So what I started noticing is let's see, I have 5 meals a day right now. So I have fresh fruit in my first one. My second meal is literally the Metapure from New Ethics and then 300 grams of frozen berries. My
Wow.
third meal, no fruit. My fourth meal is all fruit. I have no protein. It's a massive fruit bowl. It's 500 grams of fresh fruit with 5 medjool dates. And then
Wow.
my fifth one used to have fruit. I just pulled out the fruit in that one. But I have fruit like so much throughout the day that I actually notice I'm never thirsty. I don't drink as much water. I barely drink a gallon now. I think I probably drink under a gallon. During training days, I drink over a gallon, but
Yep.
I probably drink like just under a gallon, maybe like 100 ounces a day if I'm not training, just because I have so much water and electrolytes and things from these other sources like fruit. It's just an easy way to get all of these electrolytes and minerals in that you really need from water. And not to mention, fresh fruits are like 94% water.
Yep. Yep. I love watermelons for that too. They just always hit that for me.
Oh, dude, I'm such a fan of watermelon. In fact, one of the things that I actually having a few clients' diets right now is I'm not really a huge fan of juicing on a regular basis. Now, I'm not saying I don't go enjoy a juice like once a month if I'm like, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna go randomly grab this because downstairs on our first floor,
Yes, nice smoothie. Yeah.
dude, our first floor we're spoiled here at this high rise because on our first floor we have I would say a 5 chef restaurant, but that's not true because it makes it sound like it's one restaurant with 5 chefs. It's one massive, nice restaurant, high end place with 5 restaurants in it. And
Yeah. Almost like
one
a
of
food ball.
yeah, it's sick. And one of them is a juice place, and they will fresh press it in front of you right there. And so, like once a month or something like that, or once a week, maybe I'll be like, "Hey, can I go get like a 20-ounce pineapple juice?" Cool, I'm totally fine with that. But on a regular basis, I'm not really a fan of juicing just because of the stripping of fiber and nutrients and things of that nature. But one of the things that I will do right now in clients' diets is I will have them go get watermelon and like a Ninja food processor. That's what I use for my blender or
Yep.
whatever. Is I will just have them. It's not a juicer. I'll just have them put the watermelon in there and blend it up. And because watermelon is so watery, it literally turns it into a slushy. And I'll just have clients pour out, depending on their size, whatever. Hey, pour out 12 ounces of that with your dinner, or 16 ounces of 20 ounces with your dinner, or whatever. It is watermelon is like such a great, refreshing, easy way to.
That's what I always think of just because it's so juicy and replenishing.
Yeah, I'm, I'm,
What are
I'm
what's some thoughts for you? Like I get some clients that talk to me about struggling to drink enough water. One quick tip I always think is just if you have one of those 40-ounce bottles or something, actually throwing a straw in there. I've noticed I'd be able to suck down a lot more water than if I'm just like filling up an actual bottle frequently.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
always a good tip I think worth mentioning to people too, because some people just struggle to actually drink the water.
No, for sure. I always say, like for me, I have this bottle sitting next to my desk all day, so I'll just
Yeah.
be chugging it.
But for some people, there's like, I don't want to carry on a jug all day.
No, no,
Okay.
exactly. What I tell people all the time is then instead of drinking it all day, drink it at your times. Like I'll put it in people's diets. So like when you wake up, have 20 ounces right when you wake up. Okay, boom. I just knocked out 20 ounces. Don't worry about sipping it later in the day or whatever it is. Okay, great. At meal one, you have 16 ounces. Meal two, you have 16 ounces. Let's just say you have 4 meals. I think the average person should have 4 meals.
Agreed.
I think three is a little bit too minimal.
Yep.
Um, I think four is easy. It's a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then it's some type of snack or late afternoon thing. It's very simple to do. It's not hard. And so let's just say with all four of those, you have 16 ounces. So you're talking about 16, 32, 48, 64 ounces right there. You're talking about 20 right when you wake up. That's 84. If you work out, you need to be having, I would say, a 16-ounce bottle twice. And so that's like another, let's call it 30 ounces right there. You're looking at 110 ounces right there. That's so just doing it with the times that you automatically would be eating and then having that morning and then the workout one, that to me allows it to be a little bit more structured where you don't even need to carry a water bottle around. Just, hey, if you're going to eat a meal, you're probably going to have water with that meal anyway. So
Yep.
let's just do it on the times where it's a little bit more convenient for the individual.
And the goal once again is to start building these habits that just hit all of these pillars, and then it just
Right.
becomes second nature. We don't have to worry about, oh crap, hydration. No, it's just part of your day. It's how you go.
Exactly. And the big part about that too is we always talk about like 5 food groups. I don't even know what those 5 are anymore because I don't go off those 5. I guess my 5 would be like grass-fed meats, wild caught fish, honey, raw dairy, fruit, very few vegetables. I'll let that go with fruit. Very few vegetables. Yeah, I guess that. But I think one of the 5 or one of the food groups, it needs to be salt. It's
Yep.
every time you're packing your food, pack that little bag of unrefined mineral salt, like I always have it with me, and just sprinkle that on all your food. Make sure that you're utilizing that because then that way, here's the thing, you're also not going to have to drink as much water if you're doing the salt
Yep.
because your water is going to be more efficient. That 16 ounces of water with salt on your food is going to go way further than what your 40 ounces would be.
100%.
So I think it's not so much more, it's just taking advantage of what you have, right? And so making those things a little bit more efficient. And not to mention, who doesn't like salt? That's one of the things that
It
like,
tastes good. It
oh,
enhances your food. And I notice it almost curves appetite some too. And part of that probably is the hydration aspect.
no, it absolutely does. In fact, especially if it's unrefined mineral one. That is literally what food companies will use to entice their foods to be more good is they give you I said more good. I don't even think that's grammatically correct. But but to make you want more food, to make you want more drinks, this, that, and the other, they add more and more salt to your stuff.
Salt, sugar, fat. Those are the most addicting things.
Salt, sugar, fat. So we need to take this thing that the world perverts and we need to use it back in order for your benefit. You know what I mean? And so being able to just sprinkle that this morning, dude, my breakfast, I love my freaking breakfast. It's fire. It right now, it's literally grass-fed top sirloin
Ooh.
with whole eggs. And then I have pineapple with honey. And then I have 3 Brazil nuts right now too for selenium and thyroid function. But what I do every single time is I have my steak and eggs mixed together and I get my unrefined mineral salt, I drizzle it right on there. And dude, it's so good, bro. It's so good.
100%. Yeah, you can even get those like thicker grade salts that actually almost like a steak seasoning to it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what's interesting too is that some people would say, "Oh, that's not that it didn't taste that good" or whatever it is. And what's fascinating that they found back whenever I was a vegan, I had found these random studies that I thought were freaking awesome. And so one of them, it showed that when you eat over excessively salty foods or over excessively artificially sweetened sugar foods and all that type of stuff, what it does to your dopamine levels, in order for you to get that dopamine spike, you have to go way further than what you would if you didn't have those things. To where if I have a rice cake with almond butter on it and some honey, like for me, I'm like, dude, that is fire. Some people are like, no, that's not sweet enough. It's because my dopamine levels don't have to get as spiked in order for me to get what I would consider a dopamine spike from that. And so the more that you start to change up the way you eat, change up your habits and the foods that you're intaking and all these different things, a little bit of sweet like fruit goes a long way. A little bit of salt goes a long way. It's all relative. Hey, that's not very salty. Well, says who? You know, like to me, I just added a bunch of salt. It's very salty. But to you, it's not because you're used to going to these Mexican places every night and loading your salty chips with more salt. You know what I mean? So it's totally relative in nature.
And you can really tell a difference when you step back from that and then have it back in. And even just like the desserts and stuff, when you have those more as you're not celebrating that daily, you have those just few and far between, they taste even better. You can
Absolutely.
actually enjoy them because that dopamine's more reset.
100%. I agree 100%. Yeah, it's also salt is also just like such a medicinal property for cleansing things. And what's interesting is the fact that there's so many actual facts of health whenever it comes to salt. What's interesting is that in the Bible, it actually says in Leviticus chapter 2, there's one thing that God commanded that all of our sacrifices have to have on it, and it was salt. He says,
Really
do not offer an offering to me without salt. This was actually one of the
interesting. I didn't know that. That's very
Dude, it's incredible. So what God is saying is that he seasons all of his food because he would eat those sacrifices. Those sacrifices would go on a fire for him, and it says that it is bread to our God. Or the word lechem literally means bread, but it's like more of a connotation just for all types of food. So it was bread to our God. And so we're made in his image. So these are one of the things that I would start seeing, and I'd be like, okay, there's some interesting concepts here. And then I would just find science to back it up. And I'd be like, Dude, even God seasons every single one of his meals. We need to be living in the image of God. We just need to be following these different pillars that he lays out for us. So I always found all of these different things very fascinating. There's so many reasons why you can go down the list for salt, but specifically in the realms of hydration, it's absolutely critical.
And there's little cheat codes here and there, like coconut water or even bone broth, where you can get a lot of this in naturally as well and just incorporate it into your diet without even thinking about it.
Coconut water is fire, no doubt
Yeah,
about
like that
it.
as a pre-workout by itself is great. You're getting your carbs, you're getting your electrolytes in, you're ready to roll.
100%. 100%. Actually, I haven't done coconut water in a really long time, but I was a big fan of it either post workout, pre workout, or right whenever you wake up in the mornings.
Yep, yep. I use it a lot pre-workout. It gets a little bit expensive, but it is nice, especially if you're already paying for like pre-workouts in general. That's a great swap.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is good. I'm glad. Number one, this is the fourth pillar for people to really start applying. It's a practical pillar, but it's a critical pillar. There's so many people that are suffering from migraines, and the fact that the number one reason for migraines is a lack of not water in the body, but water saturating the tissues, which is fascinating from lack of salt. We could just fix up so many different problems, like we said, kidneys and all of these other
Or
things.
you hear that they're peeing all the time and they're still thirsty. That's usually a hydration issue.
That is a hydration issue. That's also a diabetic issue. Anytime people start to get pre-diabetes or diabetes, they get thirsty all the time and they'll
Mm,
start urinating constantly. If you have to urinate like every 30 minutes, 20 minutes, this, that, and the other, there's a blood sugar issue a lot of times too.
interesting.
Oh yeah. Whenever I was pushing pre-diabetes because of my thyroid issues back in the day with the gut and everything and autoimmune, I was getting that all the time. I was so thirsty. We'll also see that with like dogs. Like anybody who has a diabetic dog, they'll always talk about, hey dude, my
Wow.
oh yeah, they'll talk about my dog is always thirsty, and that's the reason why. But no, an easy pillar to just simply apply to our lives. So I'm glad we definitely got to get this, man. It's always a good one. I'm excited for our next two though. Our sixth one being, I'm sorry, our fifth one being oxygenation. That's going to be a deep one, which I'm really excited to get into. And then our sixth one, autophagy, and our seventh one is sleep. So these next three to me are going to be like really critical pillars. Very
Yeah, those would definitely be a little longer, more in depth, but nevertheless, is it still super viable, super important to start utilizing your daily lives.
absolutely 100%. Thank you everybody for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode.